Game 5! We got it! We got Silver Scrapes, we got Bifrost, we got X7.
I don't know. I don't know what to say, man. I expected this series one of two ways, right? Like I opened out on the predictions, I said, look, a 3-0 could be possible, but we could also get a boxing match. A series where we get 5 games, and we finally got it. And I think for me, this game, so exciting. Finally, Bifrost, they dropped the Rise ban. They don't even first pick it. They go for the Viego and said it's more of a takeaway. They ban away the Diana, and X7 just don't pick up the Rise themselves. They give it back over to Bifrost, and not only then do Bifrost get their hands on Haru's Viego, and then C-Boy obviously played it out quite spectacularly this game. Fury on the Rise, which is something that we were hoping we would get to see, and finally it comes out, and I think a pivotal part of why they're actually able to dismantle X7 in this game, albeit a very close fought game it was.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing to...
You're just memorized by the game, yeah.
It's like he said, it's a brawl. Both teams are fighting really hard for every win, and this game was no different. It went all the way to Elder Drake. Didn't kill the Elder Drake, but yeah, and went through 2 Drakes. Yeah, I think they cracked the code a little bit, maybe Bifrost. They at least changed some things up. They didn't ban the Rise. They actually picked it themselves. They didn't do so much roaming bot as I would have wanted them to.
Yeah.
But they did change it up and threw out more of a curveball, tried targeting Haru a little bit more in the draft, taking his Viego away, banning the Diana as well, throwing him on the Lee Sin, and the Lee Sin wasn't as impactful, at least when they got late in the game. It wasn't as impactful as you would want Haru to be in a game.
And not only that, we finally get to see Odie with a carry, with a proper carry. I'm not flaming Sin or anything like that. No. I'm just saying, finally, we get Odie in the proper carry, and he carried. He got 6 items. He was just snapping people away.
Yeah, no, and that is like kind of the power of the K. And we didn't necessarily get to see the real sort of the potential of the pick, where you get to sort of walk around the entire map, plates, plus 160, plus 160, exactly. But at the end of the day, it still provided so much, especially around like the Baron in particular, where the trap line was just so obnoxious to deal with. Nobody actually had the raw stats to step in a trap and actually take the poke from it. And it turned into situations where X7 could very constantly not actually get the opportunity to walk into the river or even contest the Baron itself properly. And now for me, I look towards game 5 and I say, we've had Bifrost and X7 on blue side and red side, respectively, for the entire series. X7 should have side select for game 5 because they lost.
Yeah.
Are they going to be willing to shift over to blue side now and change things up? Because if they do, I think that's where the draft starts to get a little bit interesting, because we've had this sort of system where they've both been on the same side in the drafts. It's easy to consistently repeat drafts and then slightly make adaptations. When you're on different sides, the dynamic changes. All of a sudden, Bifrost, they have to be the ones that ban away potentially the Jinx, the Aphelios, and maybe even the Zarya at the same time.
And before we jump into the next champion select, Mikmer, tell me something. You as a player, the momentum shift towards X7 throughout the series. They got the 2-0. They were like, they got 2 games in a row. Like, okay, we got this. We got this. Out of nowhere, Bifrost secured another game. Before the final one, they have been the kryptonite out of X7. Even though we have Aru, world champion, we have Timt, we have Jaeger, we have Kasing, we have Nata. The mentality goes down for this last game. Where do you think the mentality is right now for Bifrost and X7? As a player, you know that shifts.
Yeah, so the first game, I think Bifrost really built on the already momentum they had. They got completely shut down the last 2 games. I think the second game, I think it brought away from the third game, brought away from the second game, and they got the 2-1, of course. Now it's kind of even, I guess. It's kind of just shift into the middle, like, oh, Bifrost, like, oh yeah, we adapted, we can actually win now. And now it's just like, will one of the team throw a curveball and say, oh, we want to go on the other side now? We have prepared some stuff for the blue side maybe for X7, or the red side for X7, because they have side select now. Yeah, just waiting to see if there's another curveball. Is that?
Since we have a lot to talk about, by the way, we're gonna skip break.
Oh, we're gonna skip break.
We're gonna skip it. I don't care. I don't care. We have a lot to talk about. We do it like this.
Okay.
We do it dirty. I know you want to talk about. So,
all right. Yeah. So I mean, at least to me now, this is the part of the series where this is the real nitty-gritty. This is where, effectively, this is a best of 1 now. This is no longer a series. This is 1 game. You're through to finals, or you're in lower bracket.
You get yourself into EU Masters.
You get yourself to EU Masters. That's the important part. It's the ticket there. It doesn't matter whether or not you win the finals just yet. Obviously, that's something to think about after today. But what are the adaptations now, right? And I know it's a bit of a record scratch in
Yeah.
or like chalkboard on a chalk to a chalkboard, but it is the key word, adaptations.
It is.
Even though you are in this best of one now, we've seen effectively the shift where Bifrost finally show their eyes, they finally show the Caitlyn as well. Is this something that they're now going to be willing to do again? Are X7 willing to give it over? Are we going to see, you know, the very classic trouble goggles? Oh no, Jinx B1. Is that what we're going to shift to? Or are we going to see more of a continuation of the drafts we've seen over the last 4 games? Because I think, as things stand, Bifrost might still have the momentum.
And that answer is going to be answered right now, because we're going to jump straight into Champion Select. This is the 5th game. The first time we get 5 games in playoffs for the spring split. There we go. Bifrost,
Wow.
lose side yet again. X7 with the counter pick, and they just say, we don't care, we fine. We do it, boys.
Yeah, and this is confidence. This is a confidence,
Yeah.
in my opinion, from X7. Because now, from the Bifrost point of view, you don't have to change anything. If you are happy with how that game just played out, you don't have to change anything. At least by it being indicated by the bans right now. Kai'Sa, Diana, still gone. The final ban can be the Hecarim, and then they will go to lock up the Viego. And it's all up to X7 about whether or not they want to maybe change this 3rd ban. Maybe they just leave the Jinx up. Maybe they ban away the Viego themselves and they say, pick between Jinx and Ryze.
Mikmer, what do you think is going to happen now? Because Caitlyn is still available, but other picks are available as well. Viego is available. Tell me, you as a player, give it to me.
They pick Viego again.
Viego,
That's
there you
what I say it. The draft went exactly the same as the 4th game.
Yeah.
And they picked Viego again. They just won on it, so it makes sense. And they answered back with Saya. So they are changing it up a little bit, seeing if that will work instead. Maybe they will.
It worked really well, the Xayah with Rakan. It worked really well for X7. So this is something
And
that
they
can
took
go
Xin
again
Zhao.
with Xin Zhao. So this could be early aggression to the bot side. Do you think so?
Maybe, because now Bifrost have the chance to take Rakan away and destroy that combo. So it depends if, Caitlyn you see, and then Rakan is a decent matchup with Caitlyn, but you might want Lux or maybe Assassin for Fury.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, the onus is
back.
on, yeah, exactly. The onus is
Go
on
back.
X7 to change things. So far, they are the team that are doing it. And now, if they do go for the Rakan, which they do, you see the Caitlyn. I'll tell you right now, Morgana Lux lanes with the Caitlyn are absolutely miserable. So I think X7 might have to actually shift their attention down towards the bottom lane bans as opposed to what we saw in the previous game. Otherwise, they could just end up getting absolutely demolished in the 2v2. But again, the trade-off for this now is they will leave Shikari's champion ball up. They will leave the Malphite or the Ornn up or the Gnar. They have to make the decision. They're saying, okay, we don't care about either of those for now. We're going to go for Renata, but I don't feel like Renata is going to fit into the composition of what Bifrost are going for, in my opinion. So right now, I think that's a bit of a wasted ban for Bifrost now. I mean, you just ban away mid laners you don't want to have to deal with. Probably the Ahri, even though you can use the Ryze to lock her down. But again, it's just one of those picks that you don't necessarily want to see
What
tempt on.
about the Gnar?
The Gnar you could as well, even the Vex as well. But let's see, because right now they've gone for Tryndamere. They don't want Jaeger on that pick. I think
gone.
that's also
He's
okay.
gone.
I know, Mick, it's a very sad time.
So where do they focus now? They take away the Tryndamere, so they want Shikari to have a good line. They need Shikari to have a good line. So what do you think are the last bans and the picks after this ban?
I would say if X7 doesn't take Na out now, I think Bifrost are happy sending Na top like they did in the first game.
Yep.
And just blinding it because he was really comfortable even in the counter matchup against Camille.
Yeah.
The Na went out, so let's see how...
But it's still Shikari.
it's still Shikari. So,
This could be the boss Saiyan, like Labaus.
the Bao Sion.
There you go, last ban for Bifrost. This is a serious one. There's no more mistakes. This is a best of one. And so far, history has taught us that Bifrost always win in the best of one versus X7.
What a statement. Honestly, it's just true.
It is
now,
true.
What will X7 do? Because you have sort of dive, team fight. They're going to shift it over to the Zoe, which is definitely a change of tune for Tem.
Not Tryndamere, but a Zoe.
No,
Yeah, you're fine with that
Never
as
mind. We got him back, guys. We got him back.
Got him back.
But now, the thing is for me, Bifrost, they can very easily wrap up this draft by just going, okay, we have the Lux Caitlyn into the Xayah Rakan. 2v2, that is completely Bifrost favorite. That'll be the Caitlyn Lux favorite. I assume that's what Jewel will go for here. And then for the top side, I mean, Shikari could just very easily lean on the Sion because so far, Jaeger's really just not been able to do too much into it. And there's no reason, again, to shift your focus into anything else. And right now, you need a bit of a front line. If anything, actually, I say you just go on because then you just get a little bit more of a flexible engage option as opposed to having the Sion.
There's so much CC with that engage as well.
Exactly. So at least to me, at the moment, Bifrost are winning out quite heavily. They have the hard-winning 2v2 in the bottom lane. The only way, realistically, that I could see them winning in the 2v2 is if Tempt is consistently finding bubbles in that jungle 2v2. And if that's not landing, I feel like Viego and Ryze are probably going to have a pretty free time of it. It's all up to Jaeger to find a very reasonable counter pick where he feels like he can carry, and he's going to go and try and do it on the Gwen. Gwen is immune, and it is into a fair amount of range, but Jaeger on a carry, considering he's not been doing necessarily too hot throughout the entirety of the series, is a bit worrying for me for X7. But we'll have to see how they pilot it because, again, they decided to stay on red side. They had the opportunity to move over to blue, and this is what they're coming into game 5 with.
Before we move on, obviously, let's look into the bot side because Caitlyn Lux is a beautiful pair. They work so well together, and one of the counters of Rakan is Lux.
Yeah.
He's so bad versus Lux. If they play this accordingly in the bot side, this could be OD duels difference, and you were bringing that up. Like, the core strength of Bifrost is the bot side, and they have what it takes to win this one.
Yeah, and now it's like Caitlyn Lux instead of the Caitlyn Leona.
Yeah.
Now there's more push power, and they might actually be able to do. We saw it. Odie did really well in the Caitlyn, by the way, in last game. That was not even the accelerated Caitlyn with all the plates. Maybe this game we can see and the Caitlyn with accelerated plates and taking over the game like we've seen before in this regular split from Odie and Duel.
Who do you think is going to win? Final take, because you have to toss it.
I mean, my prediction is Bifrost, so Bifrost.
Me too.
Yeah.
What about you?
Off this draft, it has to be Bifrost. The only way, and I'm going to say it right now, Haru has to level 2 gank the Caitlyn Lux lane, or that lane is going to go so horribly wrong that it will bleed out into the rest of the map.
You have to send it.
No doubts about it.
It is time. Bifrost or X7 have the opportunity to go to finals. They have the opportunity to secure themselves a spot at EU Masters for NLC. Everybody is waiting for this about to happen. It is a bloodbath. It is for the first time in the spring splits into playoffs, the 5th game. It is Bifrost versus X7. And without further ado, let's toss it to the Summoner's Rift and to initialize a Nightmare.
On the dawn of the 5th game, look to the NLC. We've finally got a 5-game series. We've got to see our number 1 and 2 teams. Bifrost, it's another Caitlyn comp, this time with the Lux, and I completely agree with the desk. If this Caitlyn Lux is not shut down, if Zheng Zhao does not continually punish that bot side, things get ugly. It wasn't the best early game last time from Odin Jewel. It really wasn't. But this time around, with the history, with the pedigree of this bot lane duo, time to make things matter. Time to stand up and get it. Time to climb for that throne.
And on a slightly different note as well, to kind of put things into context as well. I came in today a little bit melancholy, Sam, because we'll be around, of course, for the rest of the playoffs, but this is our last time casting together for this split. And I was thinking, you know what, I really hope this is a good series. And I really hope that we cast it well. And I really hope all of these other things. And, you know, luckily for us, regardless of whatever else, this series has been awesome. It is one last game. For this day, one last game to decide the first of our 2 representatives going towards that overhead of European Masters. And I cannot wait to see how this ends. I just wish it could last a little longer.
And what an intriguing series it's been. It's not been the prettiest. It's not always been the best, but both teams have been going for knife fights. It's been so close.
And you know, at the end of the day, I like to think of myself as someone, you know, I appreciate very high level play. I love clean plays, but sometimes you're there just kind of like the fast food. You're kind of there, it's like, you know what, this is for the theme park. This is for the entertainment. This is for the sheer bloody entertainment.
And the thing is, yes, there's been mistakes, but I think a lot of that has often been both teams kind of reading what everyone else wants to do and going for the think fast plays, the catch fast, the
playing off the tempo.
Exactly, and it's not always worked.
You see it a lot sometimes in the LPL. You see it sometimes in the VCS as well. And sometimes you can say, oh, that's just a mistake. And sometimes it
is, yes.
You have to throw something down on the line and say, because it's the wrong play, they might actually not react correctly to it. Or they might just be out of position and you're not ready to fight the right fight after that point. We're going to get ourselves junglers starting on the same side of the map. Again, both of these junglers want to path towards the Enchanter versus Enchanter
What
bot
a
lane.
surprise.
Caitlyn Lux is going to want to do this. This is something that we saw all the way since last Worlds and how you play around Enchanter supports. And at this point, at least Nata and Kasing haven't lost all the HP on the first wave. That could occasionally happen against this lane. But because they're giving up the push, potentially, Haru can find a...
Right. He skipped Krugs. What does he do now? Does he go for the level 2 gank? Of course, there are wards in the river. Two of them.
He can go towards Red Raptor's Grump, go towards the quick level 3, wait for that full complement of ability to get in there. Of course, actually, without the Q level up, without the Q leveled up, he's not going for a gank. He's going for level 3. However, what this does mean is that if he doesn't find anything on the level 3, of course, you've got C-Boy who's clearing a lot more quickly. However, actually, if things are safe in the bottom, of course, Haru can go for a reverse clear, go towards his blue, then up towards his wolves, and then head towards the other way. And it feels like he's going to have to resort to that point. And controlling the bot lane for the Caitlyn has been achieved.
Ouch, that's a lot of damage. Battle Dance comes through, and of course no traps quite yet, but that ward going down from Duel, who saved it, didn't use it early on, means that Haru cannot look for the early gank. And that was a serious win condition for X7. They needed to find a way in this bot side, and means at least for the early points of this game, OD and Duel going to be free to go on.
So there is kind of like some caveats to this, right? Because if this is suddenly Caitlyn Lux who are rolling around the map, getting loads of plates and shutting out Nata from this game, things get very, very difficult, yes. If you manage to survive at least and play around...
C-Boy.
Okay.
Oh, C-Boy.
Haru's
going to try and come in onto this. He's going to audaciously charge. We'll have a 3 Talon Strike available shortly. Wind does become lightning, but it's not going to be quite enough to shut anything down right now.
You can see Haru just looking, just poking his head around the corner, seeing if he can find anything. And I think that if Zoe gets ahead or if Xayah gets ahead, things get very dangerous aside of Bifrost on the other side, right? Because if once you get towards objective fights, sure, you can set up with all those Caitlyn traps, but there's always the chance of the Miracle Bubble coming in. Hard into Lux. Very hard into that champion. Actually pretty difficult into the likes of Ornn as well. You jump forward in a bad enough spot, you get absolutely blasted from orbit. So Tempest has got a hard composition to play into in this game. And he's had some great games in this series already.
He really has.
Have his best one of the bunch in this game with this champion. If X7 really want to feel that they can take this series home with a win.
I've got to call it out as well. This was a combo that was completely illegal, not allowed, completely just not available for most of the split. Gwen plus Xin Zhao is such a deadly combo because Gwen puts down the Hallowed Miss, Xin Zhao puts down the Crescent Guard, and you've got a solid 8 seconds or so when no one can touch those champions, where your front line or your back line can hit their front line and the vice versa is not true. And that is a big deal into burst combos like Caitlyn and Lux. And I need to see whether that plays out in these mid-game fights as well, because that could really be a huge combo that was so kind of unavailable, you kind of forget about it.
What my worry is that you're going to pop the Xin Zhao ult and you're going to get, in response to something like a Call of the Forge comes, you need to do it before the CC comes down, and then actually they just space out the damage. And then you still get stuck on a trap, and then the 5 seconds are up, and then suddenly you're like,
and now you're in trouble.
I'm not immune anymore. That is really quite sad. And I feel like Bifrost have been playing out those sorts of fights pretty well, actually. They've been playing around their CC in quite controlled manners, and they're going to have to show it one more time today if they show that they are more worthy than X7, at least on the day, of being an EU Masters representative for the NLC, this region which has got 2 back-to-back finals. Yes, we are going to keep bragging about it because we're pretty damn good as an ERL, turns out. And one of these teams is looking to carry that torch forward and shows that the NLC has yet more results left in their own future, that's the one.
The thing is, X7 got a lot of hype coming up this split, and rightly so. There's a lot of incredible names here that are famous for succeeding at the highest levels of play around the world. You know, the LCS, LCK, all of these names that come to mind. But then you look over at Bifrost, and this was kind of a super team in its own right. You heard Migma talk about it on the desk. Pretty much every single one of these players is a champion from across the world. As Tempt gets ganked him at a level. But that's actually the bubble popping in, and they could potentially turn. Haru is here. C-Boy has to flash, but it's a flash forward in trade for Haru. Trying to get the final kill, can't quite get it. C-Boy lives on sub 50 HP. Flash forward, the turnaround Fury. Can't quite get it though, and that's his flash now down, and Temp steals that one in trade.
So close.
Wait,
Temp going
bubble,
in again.
bubble. It's so close. It's a knife's edge.
Uses the freebies, and at the start of that play, I was like, oh my gosh, it's totally over. Shikari has an ult there. Well, he's going to keep using it.
Throws the ult down in trades as Jaeger, so it's an ult for ult trade, and a nice skip and slash avoids the charging ram.
It's game 5. every player we've seen on the screen for the last minute has chosen to take this game very briefly into their own hands. It starts with mid-jungle, goes up towards top very, very briefly, but at the end of it, lanes are even enough. There's a lead in bot lane as expected. There's a lead in mid, going to the side of Tempt on the Zoe, and top lane, kind of similar. Slides advantage over to the solo lane of X7, but with the neutrals coming into play, Dragon goes over the Bifrost and they take themselves a Clyde Drake.
Reminder again, that when we came into this series, I think a lot of us were expecting Seaboy and Fury to not be able to match Tempt and Haru. And in fairness, Haru has played a pretty exceptional series. Seaboy, in particular, game 4, not the game 4, the game 3, I apologize, really struggled on Hecarim.
Game was
a tough one.
Forgotten.
But in all honesty, they have actually done enough to keep them accountable, to not allow the late game Lee Sin kicks to come through. And that's credit to Bifrost for holding firm and getting to the mid and late game where their cohesion has been so good.
And I think there's another thing we can tag onto this, right, in terms of, okay, what do you need to succeed at this level? What do you need to succeed at the next level as well? I think a lot of it is mental fortitude. And going that badly for 2 games in a row to bring it back to a game 5, that actually takes some guts. That takes some grit. And credit to Bifrost to come back from those dreadful game 2 and 3 losses to bring it back to a potential series win.
Honestly, even that last game, X7 had it in their hands for large periods. It was some good late game decision making, some good late game picks.
The closest one of the bunch.
It was absolutely close, neck and neck, and I think both teams should go away from the series. Yes, frustrated if you lose, but don't feel as though you played poorly.
This is, yeah, no, this might not be the most clean day in the history of their own League of Legends careers, but it will definitely be a momentous one. It's going to be a hardcore battle and some brooding figures on both sides. We have 80 carries splitting across the map for another game. We've seen this before with the last Caitlyn game, but this time, Odeon Duel are uncontested in their shove right now. Last time X7 tried to break the siege and they kind of flubbed it. This time they're just choosing to split the map, of course, with Zaya and Rakan both getting the W attack speed and, of course, building early lethality too. They have a lot of ability to take down plays. I'm going to imagine that's a pause because you're looking at us and we're not the game.
Indeed it is. We have got to come to a quick pause here. Sorry about that one, but we did see on your screen before we did come to it, Herald was secured by Seaboy, as you said. Plates were traded, as you also said. That's a fairly standard play.
That's pretty rough, though, because you're trading maps. If you're trading map against Herald, you know that you're going to be called to respond to that somewhere, and you're just kind of tugged around by a leash at that point until that kind of comes into effect. So I'm a little bit worried now for X7 in terms of how badly is this gold lead going to get out of control if you have Herald smash into enough plays.
Did get a word from production there that one of the players has disconnected, which of course is not what you want to have happen in
That's
this
normally
game
a negative.
5.
I hear that you do need to have some kind of internet connection,
Indeed.
which I actually haven't had because I live in Berlin.
So we're going to come to a quick break while that's being resolved. Of course, that does need to be resolved, otherwise things get very tricky. So we're going to just wait and see how that's going on for now.
Yeah, so, I mean, we look at both these team comps and we can use this time to set up some expectations, right? And say that, you know, I mean, X7 are going to lack a lot of engage. They have some range. They have bubbles to work with. They have, of course, Desire to work with. But you don't have yourself like a Leona at that point. You have Rakan, and that helps.
And you've got a Xin Zhao who can, like, if you manage it right, you can kind of follow up on that a little bit. But I get what you mean exactly.
Yeah, it's not a Leona. Rakan is good at engaging. But again, we kind of talked about this with Hecarim. Having one engager who's diving in gets very, very difficult at that point. So it does seem like X7, they're not going to have just the brute force ability to land onto a target and say, you're dead. You're looking for bubbles to land. Again, it's a lot of burden onto Tempt to really find those skill shots. Whereas on the other side, if you do mess it up, you're going to get immediately punished by Lux Bindings, by that Ornn ultimate, which is so much easier to play around. And I definitely feel like X7 have to play up to their maximum level, really, in this game to even out this comps if they want to go for those even 5v5s.
And of course they can. You know, they've got the Xin Zhao Gwen front line there.
That's why this is such a great game.
And in fairness, you have got the Zaya who will be going towards the poke, more likely than not. So I need to watch my microphone back up again a little to see whether they can do it. But that's probably not for us to discuss because we've got the desk back in action to take us through this pause. So we'll throw it to them.
For now.
You were safe, just briefly. It's a pause, a respite. To the desk we go.
We got you guys. We got you. We were watching the game, so now it's our turn. Yeah, they can rest a little bit. It has been an awesome series as well. 5 games out of 5, Bifrost versus X7. So top peak performance from both teams. And now we get a really easy to execute team for Bifrost, and this is exactly what they need to wrap up the series. On the other side, it's a little bit harder to do so. And Zaya Rakan, is it working so far? How can they scale into the late game?
I will say it's not been as punished as I was expecting it.
Yes.
Part of that is maybe, I won't say necessarily like game 5 jitters, but it's game 5, you don't want to overextend. Things of that nature, you don't want to, make one bad play and all of a sudden, a whole split is kind of just tossed aside. You don't make it to finals. Now you have to run through the lower bracket and potentially lose out there instead. So yeah, maybe that's why for now, especially in the moment that we've paused in the game, I think X7 are in an okay spot with the game, but I think there's, a couple of sort of concerns highlighted, right? In particular, sort of some of the range discrepancies, things of that nature, which could definitely be an area of concern for X7 moving forward. But for now, I think the fact that we've got Herald in the top side, which is about to probably get dropped for OD, definitely a big deal. X7 kind of matching the tempo for now, but I think moving away from that, if we start to see like Caitlyn move into the mid lane with Lux, that's when things get a bit troublesome potentially for X7, because they should always have mid lane priority Bifrost. And moving off of Caitlyn Lux priority is very, very easy to do for one, and it's also very hard to deal with on the opposite end. And I think, as kind of highlighted by the cast, definitely gonna have to leverage a lot from the Zoe, from the bubbles, and sort of maybe fog of war engages from Kasing on the Rakan to give as little reaction time as possible. Because if they're not doing that, I feel like X7 are definitely gonna struggle as time goes on.
Also, I wanted to bring out the idea of vision. You were discussing that right now. And when you have a Zoe, I know you were typing in on chat, I hope Zoe wins, she's really fun, yada, yada. But the idea that both teams need a lot of vision. I believe supports have to be outstanding in this game, because on one side, you have to give Zoe the opportunity to send the bubbles and the slap. On the other side, though, you want to remove that idea. You want to protect yourself because you have a Lux, you have a Caitlyn. They're not really tanky, and they are the ones that should be punishing and not be punished. So how can supports approach this game?
You have to try and deny as much vision as possible.
Yeah.
Maybe move around with your jungler even. The first person to make it into a, like, let's say it's a dragon play or a hero play, they moved to hero before. We could see it before the game paused. The first team to make it into the river and get the vision usually gets the control, and the control when you're playing Zoe is really important. So if Bifrost can go in and get the control first, they will probably deny a lot of the Zoe damage coming in.
So that is an idea. And I know we have footage of how to deal with that. The production was telling me that we have a special footage specifically for how to deal with that situation. I think we're going to roll it right now for you guys back at home to understand how to use this matchup and how to protect yourself from Zoe or from the Caitlyn. As soon as you guys are ready with the production, we can take a look at it.
South Cold.
So, Bifrost, we need to look into... It's not our way.
I think Archgrim just got pranked by production, friends.
That's not Zoe gameplay.
That's not Zoe gameplay.
That's Teemo gameplay.
I was kind of confused when you were tossing it to that, because I was like, what footage could we possibly have to deal?
I mean, the idea behind this is if you don't have enough vision, that could happen.
Sure.
You're not aware of people dancing in front of you. So wards save lives.
Yes, exactly. Wards do save lives. And I think, in all seriousness, taking vision control and being the first objectives in this game, very important, because on one side you have Caitlyn. Having to deal with Caitlyn traps and walking through chokes is very obnoxious, so don't be last, X7. But if X7 are the first ones in, all of a sudden this becomes a bit of an awkward game where, yes, you at the very least have like things like the Ornorm or Lux range to try and play around. However, the issue is always the issue of, over-the-wall bubbles or Kasing just snap engaging on you, and all of a sudden you just lose 1 or 2 members off that.
I have information for all of you. The idea, what is happening is one of the players got disconnected. He's trying his best to connect back into the game. It's not happening, so the production is trying to help him as fast as possible to resume with this best of 5, the 5th game between Bifrost and X7. Could go for either side. Obviously, it's still really early in the game to be talking about who has advantage. Like the momentum shift, it's still even for both teams. I think the Herald will kind of disrupt a little bit of that, especially if Caitlyn is capable of getting her hands into some of those plates to see the 6-item Caitlyn that we saw in the previous game. So with that in mind, we should look into the previous games and understand how they got here. So the first game was mostly Bifrost winning again on the best of 1, we'll call it this way. But I remember when Initialize came into the green room after the 3rd game, and it was like, oh, I think X7 got how Bifrost are playing. So this could be a wrap-up, and it's not. And it's not. So it has been a momentum of shift. And what I want to bring out, and you will help me with this, because you were and you still are a pro player, the idea that you may have a lot of experience on stage. You may be a world champion and all that, but when you are winning on the best of 5 and things are looking dim, and the other super team is making your super team not looking good, it hits you. It's a true in the head, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it's like you talked about in the start. None of these players wants to make that mistake that cost them the
entire split.
Yeah, not the entire split yet, but the way to the EU Masters and way to the finals. You don't want to make that mistake. And in a best of 5, now it's the last game, so the nerves are really on. You can make mistakes like the 4 first games. You can make a mistake. You can maybe like Jaeger maybe went up a little too far in the side lane. You make those mistakes and you try them out. But now it's like we saw with the Caitlyn Lux. You don't want to step too far up and be the ones losing the game for your team.
So that's why they're playing a little bit more cautious, as you were talking about. And you, as an ex-coach, you had a lot of information on that. How can you keep your players throughout an entire afternoon of mental, exhausting decision-making, and those decision-makings that bring you like an L at the end of the game, and you have to talk with the player. It's good, it's good. We had a beautiful split, we can still do it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a difficult task. I think, obviously, it's going to depend on the 5 players that you have in front of you from a coaching position. Mental discipline is very, very key, but you have to remember, like you said, they've been playing for, what, 4 or 5 hours, maybe even more if you're including the warm-up at this point, right? So it's a lot of League of Legends to be playing in an evening, not necessarily just like, 5, 6 games. Maybe some people that's not a lot, but when you're playing in a competitive environment where you're constantly talking to other people and you're also exerting yourself mentally to ensure that you're giving out things like the best information, doing the best things you can, and then all of a sudden it turns into a best of 1 where you have to then play at your peak during that 5 to 6 hour stint of play, you can eventually slip up. And that's why I assume we're seeing such cautiousness come out from both teams, because, again, they are probably starting to get tired, right? You're starting to get to that point where, you're hitting that brick wall in the marathon, and you have to break through it. Otherwise, you end up sort of slipping up. And like Mikma said, you do not want to be the player on your team that ends up making the key mistake, which loses you the series, and in this case, a potential slot at EU Masters. Yeah.
And there's another aspect with that, like the mental pressure and all that. And I know people at home might be thinking, man, come on. 3 hours, 4 hours playing League. I play 10 hours a day. Those are rookie numbers. We got to pump those up. It's not that easy, specifically when we're talking about competitive. It's not solo queue, okay? Even in solo queue, I know you slip. I see your games. The idea is you're playing competitive and you have shot callers. It's really mentally exhausting for the player, like those 45 minutes. Have you ever played in a series where you get mentally exhausted? I don't know what is happening, because I played with Nightmare yesterday and that was exhausting. But the idea is, like, did you ever went to a series where you got mentally exhausted and you felt your skill just slipping away and you knew you could do better, but you were just exhausted?
Yeah, when you get to the last couple of games, and especially in the best of 5, you will get exhausted and you will like not maybe think as clearly in just decision making, especially. You're laughing about.
No, I'm laughing because Nightmare won on the rock paper scissors. You won. You won. I mean,
Right. That's completely true. That's not completely true.
finally won
All right, let's go.
something,
All right.
man. Because I played with him yesterday, and it's really good to see him win anything. So yeah, continue. I'm so talkative.
Oh!
Okay, it's a tie. There you go. That's the usual. I'm
do
so
that
sorry.
one.
I love you, bro. I love you, bro. Continue.
Yeah, as I was saying, when you make it out to those late games, especially when you're playing this late in the day, you will get exhausted and you will do some bad calls, especially the shot caller in the team. Let's say from X7, it's maybe Haru who's the shot caller.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the calls are not as clear cut anymore.
Yeah,
be
and
difficult,
actually,
yeah.
this is
Tell me,
something
we have
maybe
to do it fast.
to consider as well. There is still that potential for there to be a little bit of a language barrier between, Haru, Tempt, and the rest of the team. Obviously, I can't remember which one. I believe it's Tempt that speaks better English than Haru. Maybe Haru's obviously had the spit to learn.
Still, when you're exhausted,
When you're exhausted, all of a sudden, things like, you have to maybe you say something in Korean, Tempt has to translate all these kind of things. It can play into
take
play
it,
at
man.
5
I have
games
to take
into
it. I have to
know,
cut
go,
you
go,
in
go, go.
because we finally can jump back into Summoner's Rift. It is X7. It is Bifrost. It's the last game when we can finally resume this one. So 9-man initialize. Take it away.
Thank you so much. Paused no longer. We are ready to get back onto the Rift very shortly. Rock, paper, scissors was had here, but the only scissors in the game right now are the Gwen. See how well that can play out.
Remember there being a Malphite ban earlier in
There
the
was a Malphite banner. But there
series?
wasn't, was it the series?
Yeah, like...
You know what? We're going to pretend it was.
Away. I won. It was like 4-3 or something.
That's a lie.
It was
You saw me win. There is video evidence.
of one
video
round.
evidence.
You didn't see the whole series. You should have seen the whole series today, though, because it was awesome. Stop laughing at me, Jamada. That's very distracting.
Get over here. Come on, lads. Just show them all. Show them all. Right, dance around him. Ready? Let's go. Let's go. Ah, there we go. Ah, beautiful.
Thank you, Sam. But we still have this last game to play out. This is...
I won.
In
That's all that
some
matters.
ways, this feels like a perfectly timed pause because
Yes.
in some ways you're sat there, it's like, oh no, it's breaking up the momentum of the game. But it's early game. Everyone is now sat here just being like, oh my gosh, I know we were like, if only it could last a little longer, but each of these players will be sat there just thinking about the game and the next 30 minutes ahead of them, if that.
Here the issue is, though, someone has had to disconnect, reconnect, all of that's going to jag their mental.
It's not easy on
like,
anyone,
Like, this is 5th game with so much on the line. EU Masters is available to the team that wins here, and that kind of pause can really throw people. That last game was so tight. This is the kind of thing which could really break things, even from a background perspective. Herald summoned, and this could be just first turret.
What we also had, obviously listening to the desk and then hearing, having some time to think about things too. I really think X7 have to be so brave in this game.
Yes.
And given what
Oh,
Jamal was
Fury.
saying in terms, I think it's Migma and Jamal were both saying,
Shikari's
no one wants
here.
to be no one wants
Shikari's
to be
here, but Fury's going to try and do what they
game.
can. The Call of the Forge God's there, but the Crescent God does the work. First blood is still Haru's. Can they get anything more? I don't think so. It's a 1-for-1.
It's a 1-for-1. And again, X7, they have to be the ones being very careful but clinical with their aggression. But make no mistake, they still need to be aggressive.
2 towers.
When Bifrost get to set up at objectives, X7 do not want to be tangling with that lightly. Fury
Such
had
a
no
good
flash at this
call.
point, and it's a good call. It's an aggressive call, but I mean, Shikari is there, ready and waiting, right in the wings.
To clarify, it was Shikari's reset I was calling out, that he managed to take away from that top lane, or from the bot lane where he was getting nothing done, roams mid to prevent the potential dive, and gets it a 1-for-1. Nata will get a turret, but reminder, the inner went down on top lane. At least now,
If we could,
Jaeger's just holding it there.
If we could just pan up to the top wave and see what Jaeger's doing with
Does he
the
freeze
top
it?
lane minions, because if he's freezing it, this changes the way that this game needs to be played out, because if he is freezing it, of course you're going to deny side lane farm from someone from Bifrost, but you're also out of position
Looks like he's
to
shoving.
stop someone shoving into these other plates. It's only 10 minutes in. There are 4 minutes rather, of plates still remaining. Bifrost with the Caitlyn, they are more than happy
OD.
to roll up
Smart.
and continue taking down all of that extra gold across the map. X7 looking to catch someone in rotation, but good vision play from the Lucent Singularity of Dual to spot that up. Tempt, however, has a moment of priority to push in, and that bot lane priority itself.
OD had a mixed game on the Caitlyn last time around. Some of his plays were really, really clean. Other times, he just got caught out.
Yes.
Some of his plays inside lanes, honestly, from both teams, has been suspect. We've called it out for numerous players. And at least this time, Duel was there to make sure that the smart bush check was available. Yes, Lux can't face check, but she can throw in the Lucent Singularity.
I have to say, I do love how X7 are looking to balance out this map, because again, you were talking about, there's this tower trade across the map, and you know, the two towers taken by Bifrost, but X7 have turned their strong side of the map into a wall of vision, which Bifrost have really struggled to take. And because Jaeger timed his own wave push in top side with what X7 were doing in the bot side jungle of the enemy side of things, X7 take a lot of camps, they take a lot of vision, and you can see they're actually getting themselves in parity with the gold after. It seemed like Bifrost were very happy with the way things had gone with that Herald push. Bifrost unable to really keep crawling forward and continue to grind through these turrets the way that they really want to, because X7 are playing around the map and the vision so well currently.
Bravery. That was the word you used for this game. There is so much nerves, so much tension in the air, and I can feel it, you can feel it, the players sure as hell can feel it. And I'm just enjoying the way that X7 are playing it cool, playing it collected. Yes, they've lost the turrets, but it's not like Jaeger's fallen. They have got a dragon to their name there, and they're keeping it together. It's 100 gold despite the additional tower right now, and that's pretty good credit to X7 for how they've played out the kind of response here. And there you have Kasing, who was the one who just came reconnect, but in the jungle, Haru has to pop the ult, but now they've got to work out what they can do. Seaboy does get stunned up by the bubble. Can they find anything more? I don't think so. So Haru will just be down the Crescent Guard, but there's nothing really to fight for right now. It's not the end of the world.
One of the exact things that we talked about before the pause in terms of like, okay, look at all this damage immunity frontline that X7 have. Surely that's going to be a big problem for Bifrost. Well, yes, in some ways, but you can also blow them with quite basic cooldowns. You land that Lux Bindings, things get really hairy for you. If the Call of the Forge God comes in, you want to pop that early, but instead of getting CC'd to death, and we'll have to see if that happens again, because this is part of the bravery, because even though that threat exists,
that's where you're going.
Haru,
Exactly where I wanted to go.
Haru and Jaeger need to buy territory with their roles. If there is a trap line set up, if there is something else, they need to just be brazen about it, walk in and buy the space their team needs.
Bravery is the foundation to winning this game. The pillars on top of it are vision control and territory. Who gets to control the vision determines a lot of this game. Who controls the territory around objectives control a lot of how this game gets to play, because honestly, Bifrost do not want to face check into the dark.
Oh, sorry, that's a different thing. Go on.
There is a very large worm in this game named Baron Nashor, but I don't think he's quite a Dune worm, to be fair, but
no, we don't have a Sandrift, sadly.
No, not quite.
That one replaces Hextech, but Haru,
Shurima at some point.
he has flash. Kasing does too. Has the ults, but well, no, sorry, Kasing doesn't have that flash. Excuse me. So Odi, duel. Actually, Odi getting chunked out pretty heavily there, and now we have the Eclipse open. Caitlin's not great against that poke. Nat has actually done a decent job of surviving the early laning phase. Got a lot of plates themselves. Of course, took down a turret all by their lonesome, even without a Herald to their name. That's on Vision there, Odi.
Oh, Duel's in so much trouble! In comes the nuke!
And that's a very important kind of milestone in this game to say, look, Bifrost, you ruled like the first 5 to 10 minutes of this game. You're doing more than fine using that first Herald push to get a lot of nucleated gold down. But who did we put all of the eggs into their basket? It was Tempt saying, these bubbles are so important.
Wait.
There's an engage coming in.
Misses, but it does get on to Nat, who's stunned up. Needs to go down. Does he have the Featherstorm? Does manage to cancel out the ace in the hole, but now needs to get off vision because that doesn't take it off cooldown for long. Stay away, go back, heal up, do not die to that. Tempt gets a bubble, does manage to make Shikari go to sleep, but he can buffer out of it.
Not to that for wave clear. Let's see what happens with this fight. Haru's there, Seaboy's fighting.
Can keep going, they're gonna try and go in. Massive engagement, Kasing. This Rakan has been so clutch. Another bubble lands. The scissors won't quite snap down enough. The jaws of death escaped. Final spark in trade, not there yet.
And that was very dangerous for Bifrost. You give up 1 or 2 kills there, you're losing mid-turret, you're losing a lot off of the back of even singular kills. But Fury's in bot side, pushing down that turret, hasn't killed it just yet. That's another wave of farm, which is being taken up by the side of Bifrost, which isn't currently being claimed by X7.
I think I called it out as OD being in trouble on that deletion, but of course it was Duel who died on the Lux. Slight mispronunciation there. The bot laners, they count as one individual, right? That's how it works. Probably irritated about a third of the player base of League of Legends right there, but it's fine. I love that. That's probably very reasonable.
But we're looking at this too, but you can see how dangerous it is for everyone who is one of these mobile backliners, because there are lots of pick tools. Kasing gets rooted up.
So much damage, just managed to get out though. Merc threads early. My day so important.
So the first time that Bifrost managed to approach that mid lane out of turret, there is wave clear present. That Demolish proc going to do a lot of damage though. Even be take it single wave, that's a big win for Bifrost.
They're going to try and get a hold of it. They do. There's just no way to stop it. Okay, that's a big
really
win.
big win for Bifrost. Again, mid lane out of turret tends to be that real linchpin for where your early game vision kind of goes around. For as long as that exists, you tend to have a lot more ability to play around your own defensive vision, right? Because you can't just walk into the jungle from all of these different places. We're now walking up towards Jaeger in this top lane, and now we have to check the next couple of minutes what's happening with that vision. See a lot of X7 wards around the mid lane right now. Can they keep that up? Now their turret's gone.
That's the play. Down comes the Hallowed Mist. But little more to be found right now. Teleport is available for Jaeger, also for Fury. There is the Herald summoned, though. That means this mid lane turret will fall.
You still have the vision to make sure this is a safe push. Temp gets to push in. Look at that. He gets to use those bubbles offensively. There's a dragon spawning at the same time. X7 have all of their ducks in a row. Elder gods or not may they be, but they can have another crack at this and gets the objective first.
Another bubble lands. Won't be able to follow up too much, but there is
It's a big
Shikari.
ult.
The Forge God's call, but Haru's going to block up too much damage. Tries to get on the duel. He's going to flash away with the Crescent Guard on. Now Shikari is in danger. Does just get out of range of the grand entrance. Shikari wasn't there to receive Kasing's very warm and welcoming arms, but it will be Dragon secured for X7. A lot of very close plays there from both teams.
And remember, it's the Ocean Rift, lots of bushes to keep that vision control up. In Temp pushing forward, Shikari holding the door close. Shikari's done this on the Scion, done it on the Ornn in this game too. He might not be on a carry, but he's got a lot of his team on his back as he's blocking those skill shots for them.
He absolutely is. We said, well, why have we not got this guy on a carry? Well, maybe because he can play tanks this down well. The Scion the last game, the Ornn this game, he's been playing the front line they need to make sure Fury, Odie can play the game the way they need, because X7 have been lethal in terms of looking for these picks. And Bifrost, credit to them throughout this entire series, have responded on the drop of a pin.
And you have to bring it back to that word again, I think, bravery. Because this is a tense match, and it felt like X7 were kind of losing control of that game against the Caitlyn. Every time you give up early towers to Caitlyn, you need to just get a little bit worried, because she does come out of fall out of control very, very quickly. But they've stabilized, arguably in a favorable position at this point, taking that second dragon, managing to get priority where they need it. And actually, Bifrost are struggling to push in across the map. I'm looking really towards Fury now on the rise to see what he can do on a side lane. Is there any option for him to use some Realm Warps to and then find something after that point, because you can see that Xayah with the lethality doing lots of poke damage and just shredding minion waves. Caitlyn's actually not even being able to take control of the wave that she's in right now. And that's a bit of a thorn in the side of Bifrost.
This is a lethality Xayah again, remember. That between that and the Zoe, you've got very good mixed poke damage and zone control between Bubbles and Feathers and Rakan, and the frontline zone control of Jaeger and Haru. It's not as easy if they get to settle control, of course. Caitlyn, Fury, still very, very dangerous. If you can play a 1-4 where Odie and Duel get to play artillery while Fury gets to play a side lane, you've got ways to play this, and it's a very close game. It's a very close series. It's 1,000 gold, if that, apart between these teams.
Well, we're talking about Fury in the side lanes. Immediately kind of shows up in that bot lane, finished off that turret, and now you have both side lane outer turrets down on the side of Bifrost. Let's see what they can do with that. X7 continuing to have their control tower, this airport control.
Duel. No flash, remember. Needs to be so afraid.
When it becomes lightning, but again, this Caitlyn Lux, who are so often pivotal in the way that they push in, they siege down, are struggling to get to that point. Bifrost trying to book up some ideas, because it's not going to be smooth sailing for them. X7, credit to them for putting Bifrost into that position.
Wards become so paramount at this point, and it is a roaming squad of Haru, Kasing, Nata that is trying to control as much of this jungle as they can. Might get spotted. Light Binding goes wide. Everfrost does manage to pull up, but he's going to go in. They're going to keep going to try and get on the duel. Remember, there's still no flash on the Lux. The turnaround's not coming back. They're going to get over this. And that will be the teleport in, but a little more to be found as the bubble comes through. Needs to be a little afraid to tempt, though, as there was a potential for a turnaround, but they'll take the teleport back off. Fury's teleport responses, so pivotal in some of these earlier series games, or some of these earlier games in the series, to correct that sentence.
Couldn't pull it off on his Seraphine game, but on the rise, particularly at this point, 20 minutes in,
Ari.
very much ready to go. Almost up to that Fimbulwinter, stacking up nicely alongside the Everfrost, has the Mercury Treads, and at that point, you're looking at Tempt, and that's another that's a target outside of just the Ornn, which is going to be kind of difficult to chunk out to a meaningful degree.
Absolutely.
So, lots of moving parts in this game, as there always are. But yeah, they just get put up onto an even more firm microscope in this game.
Is he paying attention? Oh, it's Nata. I apologize. I saw the feathers, didn't pay attention to the nameplate, got a little distracted by the lights in the studio, slightly there, and I leaned back a bit, and so the screen went a little bit darker for my end. I was like, I think that's Rakan. It was not.
Nata doesn't get to reset him, doesn't get to buy his next item. Or whatever he wants to get on that reset.
Oh my god, he's in so much trouble. Doesn't have a Featherstorm. Is going to come straight down afterwards. A little more to be found. Stays alive.
So close. Games of inches, of integers in the single digits you have to feel sometimes. And Jaeger now sitting in his own jungle on the Gwen. Going to be a big team fight threat for the side of X7. Him and Haru, as again, just kind of keep harping on to that point. Say, this Shin, this Gwen, they need to be the ones who are very, very brazen, very ballsy with the way that they contest for territory, go beyond the trap line and try and close that distance and give X7 a way to play into Bifrost. Very nasty area control comp.
Sole point on the table for X7 if they can control the river, but Bifrost, they haven't reset yet. They stayed around after they put down their wards. It'll be Nata being chunked up, but Kasing blocks it there. Critical stuff. And now Vision is being lost for Bifrost. They are behind.
They get into the river first. Bubbles are landing, and again, Tempt talks about how important these bubbles are going to be. Doesn't lead to a huge chunk this time, but look at Duel. He's on Vision. He's on that ward. They know the ward's there. They hit it before.
Oh, he misses the wall that time. That's going to be a slightly missed bubble. That could be important. Can they find anything more? Call of the Force summon. It's going to come across so many members, but they immune so much to the damage they can't get getting through. Haru's part of the ultimate, but what about the turnaround damage? Heal has to be burned by Odie to keep his top laner alive. Flash away now. So much needlework doing a lot of damage. Those needles fly through. It's an acupuncture session Shikari did not want to pay for.
Oh, but Fury is still very high HP. Remember, this is tanky. Look at the rise. They're going for the realm. I think this is just for Vision at this point. Seaboy walking up.
Tempt on the side, gonna try and chunk out Fury. Misses the ball, but he lands onto the Seaboy instead. He's over the wall, but he needs to try and turn it down. Big chunk, the light comes forwards, but it's not enough. They steal the dragon regardless, though. So it's a Drake 4-player trade.
Oh,
Tempt. Oh, gets the kill. Duel is down.
Oh, such flashes over the light binding. And who did we say?
They can go for Baron.
And who did we say all of the burden of execution on X7 was in terms of the even fights? It's onto the Zoe, and that kill does open up an angle.
Seaboy has burnt Flash, he's burnt Ultimate, he's got some healing back, but he's got to get the Grom, but I don't know whether he's going to get enough HP in time. This is the trade. They burned so much to get the Dragon.
They have to know.
They're giving it up. They just can't trade. It'll be X7 with the Baron.
I think the only thing that's worse than giving up a Baron is dying for a Baron steal and allowing X7 to completely roll through the structures which you currently have the advantage in. It's 4 towers to 2. If that goes down a couple of extra numbers in the favor of X7, you're really worried about Bifrost at that point. You're hanging on to the control of this game by actually quite a thin margin at this point.
Let's look at this play again, because Tempt absolutely eviscerates Fury. It is the force of a neutron star. He comes through and takes down the shutdown. But then Seaboy somehow, someway gets the dragon.
So during this too, Odie basically gets 0 auto stack down during this entire fight. He's trying to find some kind of way to walk forwards, but he's stepping forward, stepping backwards, and you just couldn't quite land any relevant damage. And Bifrost, they get the steal, luckily enough for them. They stop a soul point being given over to the side of X7, but
what
feel like the early wind in the sails of Bifrost is dying down, ebbing ever so surely.
Jaeger needs to be careful. Side laning has been a flaw. It'll be a 2v1. Of course, he's a Gwen. He's a little hard to lock down here. He needs to be a touch afraid. There's no wards, no vision. You've got to know. You've got to be afraid. Call of the Forge got in mid lane. They're going to try and get out the Nata. Does get a bit of a chunk up. He's not burned the ult. He tried to just tank it out and he goes down. Topside, he gets a kill on a Seaboy, though. His Jaeger's winning that one in a 1v2. In comes Haru trying to get some more. Tempts around the corner as well, knowing the top lane play is going in the favor of Jaeger. Fury had to realm warp out on sub 10 HP.
So there's a kill in the 3v4 and a kill in the 1v2. The outnumbered fights come out on tops in both, and Jaeger, for someone we have criticized quite a lot through this series, in the most important game of the bunch.
No. He's got to be somewhere. It's the Flash! And it's lights out for Lux.
Oh, Tempt again finding the pivotal plays. And X7, they're finding a way into this game. Surely you have to think Bifrost shouldn't have lost our top lane fight, but they walk into the Gwen, and X7, they find such a big advantage in half a minute of play.
When it matters most. Tempt on a Zoe pick, a pick he is infamous for, pulls out this kind of play. But here is the 1v2 topside. Jaeger throws all our criticism aside and shows why he's a god on this champion.
That was fantastic positioning of the W. Seaboy, of course, kind of plays into it. He can't actually get the follow-up auto attack very, very quickly. And getting the ultimate through so many people, Jaeger just takes him to town. And Bifrost, credit to them for finding that first pick onto Nata and very cleanly killing off Desire, but that's a bit of a mind game one for the side of Zoe. You're very often going to be stood in that corner. It's kind of like the Fiddlestick zone, but Lux is very happy to do the same with Light Bindings and Threaten Usually stood in the mid lane. Tempt 100-0 them.
Heads up, Tempt, his second most played champion ever is Zoe, behind only Azir, which has been meta for so long. This is a pick he has played into Faker, into BDD, into the gods amongst men of mid laners at the top of their fields. He's picked it up here in a comp that needed him to be a monster. He has 3 items with 3 pen items, specifically with the boots if you include them there. 4-0-1, he is a monster. Jaeger gets the kill on the top side. X7, comps be damned, looking dangerous right now, but maybe Bifrost has something to say about it.
Oh, he jumped forward though.
He's gonna get so much damage, but a massive heal comes through as in goes Haru to buy space, buy time, trying to heal him best he can. Jakari will survive as Fury gets a kill onto the jungler.
It's a minute till Dragon, so that's a 1 for none. A lot of cooldowns to use, yes, but Bifrost, with the enemy jungler down, have a moment to break this chokehold on the map, potentially set up around that Dragon. Look at the vision in that bot side jungle. If that Xin Zhao was still alive, X7 were more than set up to take that objective. And
look at the
again,
wards.
just add another neutral objective into their tally. Bifrost finally getting to clear some wards. It's been hard earned, but X7, they're more than happy with the wards that they still have left, even with that.
Any inventory, I don't think they could get too much done. They get to clear a little bit of an entryway into the river from mid lane. That's what they got out of that. Jaeger at level 16 is 2 levels over Shikari. This Ornn cannot contend with Gwen right now.
Hey, Bifrost need to burst the Dragon if they want to secure it, because of course Xin Zhao is running out to the map. Currently, of course, has the home guards. Forge God is on cooldown.
Yuri.
And it feels like X7, they found
sleep
themselves
again,
a timing window.
C-Boy.
Jaeger's on the flank.
Got to do so much work here. Bifrost in such a dangerous position. They know Jaeger's there. They're trying to step forward. The traps have come down, but it's just so much zoning, so much danger of burst. That's the threat when you allow the likes of Nata and Tempt to build up these kind of items.
Surely it's gone at this point.
C-Boy's there. He would love to be a steal. The Feathers are coming forward to try and make this difficulty. They're waiting out the Harapath's duel, taking out a half HP. The poke war is being won by the mid lane, who's 4 levels up on this Lux.
Light. Tries to steal with the ult. But again, C-Boy stuck at so low HP, and Tempt continuing to pile on the hurt. Bifrost, they find themselves a pick which could have done so much for them. While this is happening, at least Fury gets something on the top side. Okay, so they've chosen the cross map during all of this. It is only for that Ocean Soul point, but it's not like Jaeger is not doing work of his own.
Okay, he's gonna take a little bit of damage there, but the Call of the Forge God's not gonna allow too much. Hallowed Mist does come down. But at least it clears the way, at least prevents Jaeger from getting that turret himself.
I think in game 1, we were looking at Shikari very simply just auto-attacking the Camille to death as Nah, and he was bodying Jaeger in the side lane. Jaeger gets himself a 1v2 kill, make sure that he's putting himself in the conversation for someone to really remember after this series, especially in their wins. And in game 5, he has such a huge advantage.
Bravery, the word of the series, the word of this game. It has been steel nerves from the likes of Haru and Tempt and Jaeger in these positions. And Bifrost, they're wavering right now. They're down to soul point, they're down map control. They've at least managed to get an inhibitor turret.
They do have all items coming in. So you have the Typhoon. Nada's getting poked out just a little bit. Remember, he does have some Omnivamp from the Eclipse. It's not a huge amount. You can see the health bar keeping ticking up. And Bifrost, again, struggling to get across the other side of the map. When was the last time on the other side of the river? Unless your name's Fury. He pushed in towards that top lane inhibitor, but X7 so consistent about how they've controlled these waves.
So, once again, Baron has started. Once again, Bifrost asked to respond.
Jaeger's in bot lane.
Once again, it is a 2v1 bot side as Tempt over the wall continues to horn. C-Boy's gonna be spotted! Charmed up! Knocked down! Nata gets that one with the jungler dead, and 2 people on bot side. It is Baron o'clock, and X7 are looking to show that Bifrost time is all but over. The Sandia glass
They just want to get the Gwen, kill the Gwen, get something for it, stop them getting themselves. Stop getting them. This Baron buff, he's still got W up at this point. Surely it's off a cooldown. There it is. It just immunes it.
Here comes Duel, but that means there may be a light binding available. Needs to get it through the minion wave.
They committed so much for it. They committed so much for that, and
was a
they
hope.
get absolutely jack nothing. Jaeger gets out. X7 get the Baron, and they might have got themselves an EU Masters spot. And a spot in the finals too for the NLC. X7, it's been a hard-fought series. That feels like a line which I've been using as often as it comes into my brain, and that's been very, very often as these teams have gone punch for punch, blow for blow. But X7 find themselves a key advantage in Game 5.
What are gods before mortal men like these? Bifrost, new named from Norse mythology. You've got a Fimbulwinter, even inventory for Fury, but right now, it feels like X7 are the ones to show them how it's done. Medjai's Soul Stealer, 10 stacks already from a converted Dark Seal
Sonya's
inventory.
on Gwen, huge for the X7 team as well. If you're going to talk about abilities to buy up space and be obnoxious in that front
3
line,
stopwatches.
all of those stopwatches are going to be worth their weights in very expensive materials, maybe even more so than gold. Although X7 aiming
Mithril,
for gold,
platinum.
going for gold, going for...
Pick something with luster, pick something with value, pick something with the kind of fantastical rarity that a slot of EU Masters entails. Shikari being chunked down to size. That's not scissors, that's guillotine.
No.
It's looking like an execution. The king in the north is down.
Let them eat cake, or in this case, Ornn's HP bar. Jaeger cuts them down where they stand. Bifrost left in a 4v5. They're left without abilities to counter-engage. Nata actually quite low in the HP after an ace in the hole. Looks like a zeroed insolent, but Tempt more than happy to continue the siege.
Potentially big. Haru does get chunked. Does have the Crescent Guard yet to pop it. Has now. That could be critical. Jaeger is keeping his cannon alive to try and get it to go onto the town, but it finally does. Loses the aggro on the players, and that means an inhibitor turret falls. Can they get the inhibitor, though, is what we must now see. But with everyone backing towards the fountain, it looks like X7 will secure this. Seaboy can only watch on from his mist, from the shadows. And right now, Odie has to flash out of the feathers.
Flash traded on AD carries, of course, that's gone from the side to
Jaeger?
Jaeger
It's
is
a 1v4.
so strong.
What are you doing? He's going to keep chasing in. The Call of the Force goes down and the Halamist is down. Haru stopwatches that ram jam, but it's the sound of music to X7's ears. They've got 3, and this might be it. Finally, after a season of Bifrost being the ones to get the edge over X7, they get their revenge. It is X7-fold in this game. They are going to EU Masters. They are going to show that they were the team that was promised. See you on the international stage. Europe tremble, your kings cometh.
It takes 5 bloody back and forth games for a while. Particularly in games 2 and 3, we were sat there thinking it's going to be a sweep. It was a lucky game 1, but Bifrost fought back, and commiserations to them as the loser of this series. But didn't they just make it interesting?
In a game where the comps look tricky, where OD and Duel get Caitlyn Lux and a Herald and first 2 turrets in topside, what incredible poise, what incredible consistency and play under incredible duress to come out with a game like that. When the chips are down, X7 answered. They move on to the finals. They move on to European Masters.
And I have to say, good luck as a lower bracket team against this Bifrost. If they turn up in the form they did today,
They're gonna be angry.
Look, this was scrappy. We've said that quite a lot, but you do not want to tangle with this Bifrost even coming off of this loss.
We've got a little bit of time here to wax a bit more lyrical, and I will gladly do so because honestly, I'll call it out. It wasn't as clean as you said, but part of that was because both of these teams are really good. Both of these teams know what the other team wanted to do, and they punished every attempt. It was so back and forth. And Bifrost, hold your heads high. Go from this, see them again in the finals, and try and make it a different story then. But for now, we have to cut to a break. Take this one, celebrate it. We've got some stuff afterwards to go. Our final cast of the NLC split.
It's been a good one.
Wasn't it just? See you in there for you.
Welcome back to the NLC, where X7 finally wins versus Bifrost in the best of 5. They take it to 5 games. It was a close one, but X7 is the first team out of NLC Spring Split to secure themselves a spot at EU Masters. We still don't know what spot it is, if it's play-ins or if it's main stage, but they got a spot nonetheless. The ticket is there. We don't know the flight. Obviously, I'm together with Jamara, and there we go. It's going to be Mikmer. Man, your name is always throwing me, man. It's trolling me. Mikmer, so welcome back to the post-show. Was a fun day.
What a fun
Exciting
day.
one.
Yeah, and the series went, I think, the way that everyone hoped for it to go, in the sense of 5 games. Obviously, if you're rooting for X7, you're pretty happy. If you're rooting for Bifrost, commiserations today, but I think you still gave a very strong showing, and even though Dusty and Riddle look very, very strong, you probably still have a pretty good shot in that lower bracket final.
So what do you think is going to happen with Bifrost?
I mean, I still think they'll go back. I think this was a preview of the actual final.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna see them again in the final probably. I think they still have like a lot of picks out the sleeve.
Yeah, it's also about adaptation and how they adapt to this best of 5 versus X7. So without further ado, I would like to bring the interview for Bifrost. It is Fury that is sitting with us.
Yo.
Hello. Where's my boy? Where's my boy? I want to see my boy.
They don't want to show me, man. What the hell?
Yeah.
I know you're there. I just can't see you. Are you John Cena, by the way?
Yeah, watch out, watch out.
So, okay, we're going to do it with the sound. There you go. Beauty. I got you, man. Okay, so semifinals. We finally got to see a best of 5 between you guys. It was a bloodbath. How do you feel after this show? Obviously, it is rough for you guys. You made a tremendous journey so far. You almost took down X7 in the last game out of 5. But what is your feeling at the end of the day?
Well, my first feeling is that I'm tired as hell. But, I mean, I would say it was a really close best of 5. I think it could have been to both sides. I mean, maybe like the lack of experience in the last game felt in, and our draft was also pretty hard to execute in the last one, I would say, compared to them. But I would say the series was really close, and I am expecting us to be in finals as well, and then have like this close of a series again.
Okay, everybody's expecting Bifrost to be at finals again with X7 for revenge. And one thing that I wanted to talk with you about is you guys picked blue side every single time. You played the blue side every single time. What is up with that? And why are you guys not giving Shikari the strong lane, like as a counter pick?
I mean, the biggest reason was they were always forced to ban the same stuff on red side, and we prefer blue side more. So it was mostly like they banned always 380 carries of
Yeah.
OD, and if we are taking red side, we are kind of forced to like do different stuff. And with our draft prep, we prefer to just stay on blue side every game.
We talk a lot about adaptation. Best of 5, it is about adaptation, and the coaches bring a big role in this best of 5. Obviously, after fighting X7, you know where they're focusing. They know that your bot lane is massive. They know your champion pool as well, Fury. So this is just a warm-up, isn't it? Because you guys know how X7 play now, you know where they're focusing, and you still have a long way to go until the finals. Like, there's a long time to go into the finals, so you guys can prepare, you guys can adapt. Are you feeling confident that the finals are going to be different?
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, I feel like if we are going into the finals, I expect us to win. I mean, I always expect us to win, same with the series. But we need to look at the first match, right? Like, Dusty Riddle beat Excel. Like, they are both pretty good teams. Like, we should not underestimate any team. Like, we can still lose as long. We just need to play our style and just respect any team. But I'm quite confident if we just play our own style that we can get back in finals, and then it will probably be a close series again, like same as today.
I think so. Yeah, there's no free games from now on. Playoffs are tremendously hard for the NLC. But if you allow me, man, you and the rest of the team, keep that chin up. You guys are amazing today. So I would like to see what you guys are going to bring versus Riddle or Dusty. We don't know. And what happens in the final, it doesn't matter because whatever place you guys secured at the end, either it's finals, either it's before the finals, that was a massive run in Spring Split. And let's see what happens in the future. So thank you so much for the interview. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too, man. He seemed fine, though. He knows what they did.
I mean, yeah, you go against X7, albeit obviously, you know, there is that extra added layer of we did beat them in the regular split twice. It's a best of 5 series, right? Now there's more room for, you know, there's more wiggle room in terms of going back to game drafts and ensuring that maybe you're going with the correct strategies that you feel like are going to be the best to actually win out over the long con. And at the end of the day, they're only 1 game away from taking X7 down. And even in that final game, albeit it didn't end up necessarily being the closest out of maybe all 5 games that we had today, they probably know that given the tools they had in that final game, they probably had the opportunity to take them down. Maybe if it was that draft in game 1 or game 2, for example, where they're a little more fresh, they're a little more willing to take risks, I think they probably would have had it. But it just seemed like they're a little bit too hesitant. And like he said, like Fury said, you know, they will have to now face Dusty or Riddle, but they'll still be
both looking
who are both looking very, very mean. But at the end of the day, they're going to take it game by game, and they're just going to ensure that they're giving them the respect that they deserve because they are very strong teams. And I hope to see Bifrost back in the finals for a rematch against X7 after today.
Who knows? But without further ado, we'd have to talk with Nias, the interview for X7 after this show, after this series. Oh, there you go, there you go. Nias, welcome back.
Hello, hello.
Hello, okay. How are you feeling? Because this was not the 3-0 you told me.
I mean, pretty excited. I think today was pretty close, as everyone could see. And yeah, I think if it wouldn't have been for Bifrost actually allowing us to use their pulse time as well, I don't think we would be here today. So I want to put out a massive thanks towards them because they showed incredible sportsmanship today.
Nias, dude. Those are massive words. Those are massive words coming from you. But obviously, congratulations, X7 did a tremendous job. You guys, They made you run for that money, but now you are at EU Masters. We don't know what sort of spot you are, but can you finally be like, oh, okay, we got to EU Masters. Okay, we're fine.
I mean, yeah, I think it's a big relief for all of us because this was the most important match for us of the entire season, right? And I think the fact that that stress factor is gone now is going to help us a lot in the finals.
Now, looking into the finals, obviously, you know, as a coach, obviously, there's work to be done. You have a long time until the finals, but you saw some things that you guys need to work to be that team that you know you can be, right?
Yeah. I think for today, Bifrost did show us some stuff that we hadn't seen before. For example, today they were basically just looking to give up their top lane and only pick tank top laners, right? So we're going to know that for the future. And yeah, if we face Bifrost again and we are red side, same 3 bans every single game. So.
And actually, I do want to ask you about the finals. Given that you just went 5 games of Bifrost, who do you think would be your most preferred matchup? Or who are you most afraid of going up against in the finals? Because obviously, Riddle looked relatively strong against XL, albeit XL seemed to have had some more underlying issues there. And obviously, Dusty seemed to have ramped up in the later end of the split, and they absolutely demolished Veneer. They didn't even look like they were supposed to be here. So out of those 3 teams, are there any that maybe you're expecting to play against in the finals out of all 3? And again, also, is there anyone that you're maybe hoping to avoid in the finals?
I'm not looking to avoid anyone. I will gladly take any best of 5 against the best team that NLC is going to bring to European Masters and test them to the limit. For me, I kind of, for my personal self, I want Riddle to make it. I was in Riddle last year, and I have some good friends in Riddle. Facing them in the finals would just be ideal. It would be like a fairy tale for me. But on a business level and on like a sportsmanship level, especially after today, I really hope Bifrost make it and we fight it out full 5 games again.
This has got to be the best character development in terms of anime that I've ever seen. This is amazing to watch. I would say this was probably one of the best series to see between you guys. And the duo between Haru and Tempt is ravaging. It's really hard to not look at that and be like, holy moly. Did you feel at any time during the day that communication went through the drain because people are getting exhausted as well, and there's some language barrier, obviously, between the team? Did you feel that communication was going down, or did you feel like that the team was capable of securing themselves, even though it was an exhausting day?
No, not really. I don't even think there's a language barrier. I think Haru and Tempt's English has improved massively, and communicating with them is not an issue at all. So I don't think there was a problem, though.
Lovely. That is really good to know, because we usually have that sort of question, like, is there a language barrier? And now you took that doubt away, and X7 are looking really strong.
Yeah.
You want to make a question? Just putting you on the spot, like putting you on the spot.
Yeah, are you looking? Are you ready for your Masters?
We are hell ready. Like, we are ready to take it. Last 2 years, we failed in the finals. There's no way it happens a 3rd time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You can see that hunger, man. He wants it. He wants it. Look at that.
I do.
Nias, thank you so much for this interview. Good luck to finals, man. You have time to rest. The team has time to rest, but you know what you want to work on. So good luck with the training arc now.
You. Thank you.
I'll see you soon. Man, this was a lovely interview. I gotta say, I love talking with Nias today.
I have to say as well, when you said the redemption arc, you're kind of right. It's like the main character's gone and faced the villain, and now, not that X7 were the villain, but if you think about it like this, Nias very confident in the team's ability, sort of humble today, albeit they still won X7, and I'd say, yeah, I'm ready to rematch them in the finals. It's definitely a very nice tune to hear from, just a compare.
You were part of the NLC.
Yeah.
Yes.
You played here. Tell me something. How do you see the level now for NLC? Because I was in LPLOL. We have good teams and we had amazing players as well. But then I got to see NLC and I saw the regular split. I'm watching the playoffs and I'm like, man, this is good. How do you feel the level is in NLC right now?
I think the series showed a great level, actually. Also, especially the preparation that X7 did coming in. coaching staff means more now than ever, especially the draft. It means so much for the game compared to what it maybe did a couple years ago. I think NLC, like, when do we get the third spot?
My man, he knows. He knows we need that third spot. And obviously, I mean, we're looking good. Look at that chair. Are you feeling comfortable?
Yeah.
I love that chair. Man, this is production level top. But now we get to play a game. It's your first time playing Pick, Ban, Dodge. You already know the rules, so if you don't know the rules, it's quite simple. We're going to show footage behind us, like from a few plays of today. And if you enjoy the play, you pick. If you don't want to see the play, like, this is like my solo queue games, I don't like this, you dodge it. And if it's one of those plays where you get to see someone just griefing, just destroying your game, you ban the game, you ban it. And you will be the first one to pick, by the way. Since you're the guest, you'll be the first one picking. And I don't know how many plays we have today. We have 3 plays for today. And you guys back at home can play as well at chat. Just spam it away and make the mods' life miserable. Yeah. Let's start with the first one. So, what do we have for today? Mikmer, you're the first one picking this. This was a good one.
This is T2. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Oh.
No. I think this actually decided a little bit of the early game.
Yes.
Haru he's a menace. He doesn't care.
I'm sold. I know what I'm doing. Do you know what you're doing, Mikmar?
I mean, I guess I'm picking. I picked because, yeah, well, Haru played pretty well. He picked it up right as the charge from Hecarim came in.
And you deny a lot of damage. That must feel bad as a Hecarim player. Like, oh, I got the devastating charge fully stacked in. Yoink.
100%. I've played my fair share of Viego, and I've never managed to dodge a devastating charge with the Siphon. And yeah, it's just something that you don't get to see too often, despite the champions both being quite in meta at the moment. It was just a very niche moment where Haru basically turned the tide of the fight because he was able to dodge out on that ability.
It's a world champion.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know what we're watching. We know it.
You can
we know
right-click.
it. So, second play of the day of this show. It was a best of 5. We got 5 games out of this one. What do we have here? Booyah. Okay, 1 shot.
no.
They did him dirty though. I gotta say, there's more to this play because he dodged 3 shots.
Yeah,
And that's the 4th one.
You know what? Production, that's unfair. Like you just said, he dodged 3 shots quite comfortably, and then unfortunately his shield timed out. So I'm still going to pick the play.
Because he did a really good
Because
job.
he did a good job beforehand. He just got unlucky because his shield timed out. I don't think he did anything wrong there.
Mikmer, what do you
Can I
have?
pick it on both sides?
Can I pick on both?
You pick it on both, yeah, okay. I mean, it's hard. When you're playing Jhin and you felt like 3 shots in a row,
Yeah.
you know the 4th shot, like, please, come on, don't fail me now, come on. And you pray, and it happened. It happened, but obviously, he dodged 3 shots.
Yeah. I think that's mean production.
No, we got to do it. We got to do it, man. We got to do it. We got to pick those plays. Last play of the day. Let's see what happens. Mikmer, you'll be the one first. You'll be the first one picking, dodging, or banning away. Oh, there we go. Oh. So there's a name for this. This is the Mad Lions effect. Where you think you're allowed to recall in every single bush. We saw this at Worlds. You guys remember? When EU had some sort of hopes and dreams, and we lost them? Bad day. Okay, Mikmer.
I mean, I think it's a good pick from Duel, but I will still... I'll dodge it. Because
Being nice, yeah.
he shouldn't be recalling so far up, especially like for no reason. He could have walked back a little bit and then recalled them.
What about you?
I still have nightmares about coaching.
Ah, man!
I still have nightmares about coaching players on reset timers and when they should be basing. So anytime I see a player base in a poor position, it just gets to me, man. I'm sorry.
I don't know. There's something in bushes that players look like, oh, I can recall here. I shouldn't, but I'm going to recall anyway.
Yeah, no. Reset and safer places. I don't know what else to say. It is one of the greediest ways in League of Legends to give over kills.
So there you go. This is pick, ban, dodge. There's no play of you in solo queue. I was teasing him, but no. We're not gonna do it. We're not gonna do it. With this in mind, every single bracket today. Yeah, I still think
I think.
Okay, but before we do that, we're going to see the priceless play of the day by MasterCard. That play that is the specific one, like the chef's kiss for the day. It's the priceless play of the day. Which one did you guys choose, production? Give it to me. Show me. Okay, so this was do or die. Is this the last one? This is the last one, yeah.
This is the last team fight of game 4.
Watch the Zoe. Watch the Zoe.
Yeah, Zoe, it's all on
Win
temp.
stopwatch.
Yeah.
I hope Zoe wins.
I hope Zoe wins. I am a Zoe main.
But this was a point, and I had my doubts at the beginning of the day.
Yeah.
When I thought, okay, X7, they are really good, but can they play as a team? Can they be a team? And at 5th game, they showed us that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think there was necessarily like too much doubt about it on a best of 1 basis, right? But it's about that kind of camaraderie in terms of like sticking out for 5+ hours in a series. And yeah, I mean, they definitely showed it. It takes a lot of mental energy and physical energy actually to sit through a whole best of 5 and still be able to come out and perform like that.
To wrap it up today, we should look into the brackets after the first semi-final, where finally we saw X7 in the best of 5 and they're looking crisp. It is X7 in the finals, locking in the spot for EU Masters. Riddle and Dusty will fight it off in this Monday, and then Bifrost is sitting and waiting for the winner of that game to fight against themselves, and then the winner of the losers brackets final will go to face off X7. It could be Bifrost, it could be Riddle, as Neo was talking about. Dusty are still looking solid. Each of these 3 teams can make it. What do you have to say about that?
I think Riddle and Dusty both made 2 upsets, and they're both looking strong. I'm actually really excited to see that match, and to see who will go on to face Bifrost.
I will personally say, I think Riddle Dusty has the potential to be as exciting as the series was today. I think the only issue is, I feel like Dusty's ceiling for playoffs is still a little bit ungauged because, again, Veneer just kind of showed up, got 3-0'd and then went home. Obviously, it takes a lot of skill for Dusty to come in and play like that and do that to a team as strong-looking as Veneer were. For Riddle, it was a little more hard thought, but they still ended up winning out. So, yeah, it's a really hard series to call. I'm not sure who we will be seeing playing into Bifrost, but I have a feeling somewhere in my gut for some reason that it might end up being Dusty.
I'm going to tell you something. I was talking with the players, Riddle and Dusty. I have a lot of information. This is going to be so good. But in order to get that information, we're not going to do it today. We're going to do it Monday. Well, I'll be waiting for you for another series at Playoffs, NLC, the Northern League of Legends Championship. We already got X7 locked into the finals. Bifrost are waiting for the winner of Riddle and Dusty. You want to know wins? I'll see you in Monday.